Hey, hi everyone. My name is Sumit, and I welcome you all to the day one discussion of our race program, which is also called as regular analysis through continuous exercises. So ये हमारा day one होने वाला है, and हम लोगों ने जो assignments discuss किए थे, assignment I had given you, I hope आप लोगों ने उसे solve किया होगा, and in this particular video we will be discussing the solutions to the assignment problem. So the first question which was given to you in assignment was that you had to write introduction as well as conclusions to Plato, Aristotle and Machiavelli. So I hope you all would have written Plato, Aristotle and Machiavelli intro as well as conclusion, and if you haven't, then you should write it. It will help you a lot. So we will be discussing that in times to come, but let's start off with the question which was given to you. Two questions, you had to write it on your own. So let's first discuss that, and then we can go back and discuss the introduction part, or we should do the either way. Let's first discuss the intro conclusion part. So if this is Machiavelli, right, let's start off with Machiavelli. So this is Machiavelli. Okay, and what could be the introduction to this? So introduction of Machiavelli could be, any questions on Machiavelli could have been written that Machiavelli in West represents the first clear departure from idealism and morality, and thus the first thinker reflecting the spirit of Renaissance. He is the first thinker reflecting the spirit of Renaissance. According to Jones, The Prince, his book, is neither an academic treatise nor it is any philosophical book. It is real politic. So his book is called as real politic, means pure politics, pure realism. So you can always use this in quote. Don't worry, I'll share with you the PDF. So don't worry, if you haven't, you can copy it from here. So this was the introduction you could have written. And then another important point is, how will you conclude any answer on Machiavelli? So Machiavelli's conclusion could be written in terms of its significance, right? If you can remember the significance of Machiavelli, then it will be easy to conclude any answer on Machiavelli. How? See, Machiavelli's concept is being used a lot in international politics. So over here you can write about that, how he has inspired the later thinkers. So what you write that Machiavelli's insights that politics can be understood only in terms of power forms the basis of the modern day international politics. He has inspired later thinkers like Hobbes, Morgenthau, and he is rightly called as the intellectual precursor of realism. So you can quote like this, that he is the intellectual precursor of realism. He has inspired the later thinkers, right? So you can talk about it. Okay, he has actually told the reality of politics. It is really unfortunate that everyone in international politics is Machiavellian, but nobody claims to be, right? So you can quote like this. So these are the thinkers, you can easily read about them. I have written all the major thinkers and what they have talked about Machiavelli. Like if you can write about Professor Maxey. Professor Maxey says that Machiavelli's passion for practical politics as against the theoretical, or you can say the ideal politics, it has liberated the political theory from the obscurantism or the complexities of medieval ages. So from medieval times, what Machiavelli has done, he has rescued the Western political thought. This is one of the biggest contribution of Machiavelli. So if it is asked in question, you can always write this, the views of Professor Maxey. Then if you want, you can quote the thinker, like if you want to criticize, so you can criticize it by Sabine. That Sabine says that he is narrowly dated and narrowly located, right? If you want, you can quote Leo Strauss. Leo Strauss says that Machiavelli is a teacher of evil. He is a teacher of devil. If you want, you can write this also. Then if you still want to stress upon his realism, then you can quote Lerner. That whole drift of Machiavelli's political work is towards a political realism, right? But if the question can come that prove that Machiavelli is an idealist, then what will you write? So you can write it like this, that Machiavelli, what was his ultimate aim? His ultimate aim was national unity. His ultimate aim was welfare of people. His ultimate aim was strong state, so that people's welfare could be preserved, people could get a good life, right? So ultimate objective was the creation of an ideal state, and therefore Lasky says that his attempts to achieve the objective of a unified and renovated Italy with all his heart reflects an idealist in him. So you can quote this, that he was also an idealist, because he was ultimate aim was very good, right? No doubt his method we might question his method, that he was trying to become too much, you can say, straight and to the point. But remember what his ultimate aim was. His ultimate aim was not that power should remain with the king, but what is the purpose of utilizing the king's power? For the welfare of people. And you can even mention Kautilya. If you want to write, you can mention Kautilya and compare Machiavelli, that in the happiness of the subject lies the happiness of the king, right? So, and if you want, you can use it even in conclusion, that ancient thinkers like Kautilya, who came much before him in a different time, in a different space, he also had the similar thoughts, right? So whenever you want to criticize Sabine, you can quote Kautilya, that he too had a similar thought like this. So I'll just write it over here so that you can later on read this, right? I'll be giving you the PDF, don't worry. On the group, the PDF will be uploaded just right after the discussion. So here it is. I have written, compare it with Kautilya, different age and space, but he is having the similar thoughts. Like, so we have done the Machiavelli's, all the thinkers, all the important quotes I have written over here. You can, if you want, you can read it, right? And also you should also share it with me, so that if you have anything, I will be adding it to them, so that everyone benefits, right? So let us now start off with the Machiavellian question. Let's see what the question says. The question says that Machiavelli has been called as the first realist in politics. Explain with a particular reference to his concept of the relationship between ethics and politics, right? So now you have to prove that Machiavelli is the first realist, and especially you have to keep in mind his particular reference between separation of ethics and politics. This is the key point, right? So now the question is on Machiavelli, right? So if you want, you can directly start off with Machiavelli. The introduction we have just discussed, you can start off with that introduction as well, right? That Machiavelli reflects the first thinker, clearly reflecting the spirit of Renaissance. Okay, you can talk about it. But over here the question is on first realist in politics. So it's better if you first define what or who is actually a realist. If you can define who is a realist, that will be very good, right? So you can simply start off with what? That realism is the power view of politics. Okay. For realist, power is an end and power is a means. Okay, realism simply attempts to look at things as they are rather than as they ought to be. So this is the realist view. Like, now attack that how is Machiavelli a realist. First you have defined who is a realist. Now tell how is Machiavelli a realist. How is he a realist? That with Machiavelli begins a new age in political thinking, as he rejected the idealization of the medieval and the ancient times and insisted on the need to grasp the realities of the politics. For this, Machiavelli is known as the father of realism. Now give example. Give example how. He is the first person to have established an autonomous sphere of politics and was bold enough to suggest that politics and ethics are two different entities. Politics is not ethics, right? And over here he deviated from the medieval principles, ancient principles and its theories. Machiavelli suggested that politics is different from ethics, right? Religion and ethics are two different things and politics is different, right? So he was the first person. So that is why we can call him the father, because पहली बार वो बोल रहा है, something like this, right? And then talk about more. Now try to explain more. That according to him, now tell his views on politics. Right? देखो, explain तो आपने, you have told that why. Now but you have to fill the spaces also. So write more about his views. That according to him, politics was ultimately and finally a constant struggle for power and domination, which had to be judged on its own rules, okay, its own norms, right? Then talk about Machiavelli allows the use of deception, cruelty, force, violence for the achievement of the desired political ends, right? And thus the basic principle for Machiavelli was end justify the means, and this is the essence of realism, right? He has given a very famous dictum, right? That one who sacrifices is for aught not only ruins himself but also his people, right? So you will if the prince sacrifices what is for what ought, then what will happen? Not only he will be killed, but his entire kingdom will be snatched away, right? So that is why Machiavelli advises the prince to look things as they are rather than what ought to be. This is a clear cut realism, right? And then quote his book also, that in his book The Prince, he gives various advices to the prince which are very realistic in nature. Talk about what are the realistic advice he is giving. Not to trust people. Okay, look at things as they are. Okay, people will not forgive you if you snatch their property. Love for money, love for women. All these are very, very realist and very, very, you can say, evident empirical advices, right? There was a question also on Machiavelli, that how his empirical views changed the politics forever, right? So these are the answers you have to give, right? Then talk about his concept of how he invented the concept of dual morality and separated private from public sphere of morality. Private morality is different, public morality is different. You can be good in the home, but when you are in the profession of politics, you have to be bad, right? The state or the prince has a morality of its own, and morality of state or prince is different from that of a common man. A common man can afford to sacrifice his principles for the state, but a king just cannot, right? So then start concluded that no one before Machiavelli could in a straightforward manner talk so much open about politics. Plato was known as the father of idealism, and his philosopher king was only concerned about what ought to be. Some realism came in Aristotle in the theory of revolution, but it was only Machiavelli who could talk about politics in such an unapologetic manner. No regrets. He is openly saying he has no regrets, right? So that is why Lerner says whole drift of Machiavelli is towards political realism. Jones says the prince is neither an academic treatise nor a philosophical test. It is real politics. And then you can conclusion, I have already told you that you can conclude it by saying that his thoughts are very, very relevant. He was a visionary thinker, and if you look at the international politics, right, it reflects the thoughts of Machiavelli. He has inspired later on thinkers like Hobbes. He has inspired thinkers like Hans Margendau. All these have been inspired, and he is rightly called as the intellectual precursor or the father of realism. That's it. You end it on a positive note. Got it, guys? Okay. Was it simple or not? It was very simple. You guess the theme and then start introducing the question, and in introduction ensure that your introductions are ready made, and then just conclusions should also be ready made, and body you can simply write what is being asked. So this was clearly asked on politics, first realism in politics. So try to, whenever a question comes, try to guess the theme. If you can guess the theme, then question becomes very easy. This was clearly the first realism in politics. You had to tell about this. So you have two options. Either define realism or define Machiavelli. You could have done either way. I could have also started with defining Machiavelli, right? We have discussed the introduction of Machiavelli, right? That Machiavelli in West represents the first thinker, right? Who reflecting the spirit of Renaissance, right? First clear-cut departure from the idealism, right? See, Machiavelli in West represents the first clear departure from idealism and morality, and thus the first modern thinker reflecting the spirit of Renaissance, right? And then, quote, he is also called as the first realist in international politics because, and now you start giving the answers. So one way could be like this also, right? Or the other way could be we have discussed. So be open to different ways to answer a question. You never know what might work for you. Anyways, let's move forward. Let's discuss the second question, right? The second question was on the cause of sedition is always found to be in inequality. Aristotle, explain. Now see, this question is on Aristotle. Now you could have started off with intro of Aristotle, just like Machiavelli make intro of Aristotle too. Now introduction of Aristotle is very simple, that Aristotle has been called as the father of political science, as he was the first to analyze critically and systematically the entire, you can say, subject matter of politics, and identified its core elements like sovereignty of law, constitutionalism, faith in moderation, proportionate equality, causes and remedies of revolution. He was the first person to do it. And if you want, you can quote his book also. In his book, The Politics, right? He has done this. Okay, in his book, Politics, he has written about all this in great detail, in a very scientific manner. And hence, he is called as the father of political science. Now, you attack what is being asked. Okay, done. So we have discussed the intro. Now attack what is being asked. Okay, so intro is done. Aristotle has been regarded as the father of political science. He was the first person to analyze critically and systematically the subject matter of politics, identified its core elements like sovereignty of law, constitutionalism, faith and moderation, proportionate equality, causes and remedies of revolution. Okay, sir, done. Now this is a general introduction which can be used in any Aristotelian answer. Now attack what is being asked. Cause of sedition is found in inequality. Now guess the theme. Which theory it is asking? It is asking about inequalities. It is asking about theory of justice, and which is linking to theory of, you can say, equality, which is linking to his theory of revolution. All this you have to combine. So first start off with that what is, you can say, his theory of justice, and how it is leading to you can say theory of equality, and then the theory of revolution. So first you have to answer this. So directly start that above statement explains Aristotle's theory of justice, right? And now what is justice for Aristotle? Justice for Aristotle is what? A complete virtue. It is, though not absolute, it is a relative concept which is to be understood in the words of, in the relation to the others in society, right? You can simply start defining justice, that his theory of justice is linked to his theory of idea of equality, because for him justice is like distribution of resources. We'll study it ahead, right? But this distribution should be based on merit. This should be based on merit, and if it is not based on merit, then what will happen? This will lead to, you can say, injustice, and that will lead to inequalities, right? And that will lead to revolution. So according to him, justice demands distribution of offices, rewards, and according to the contribution based on merit. Therefore, he held that person who are equal and possess equal merit ought to be treated equally. In other words, those who contribute more should be rewarded more, and those who contribute less should be rewarded less. So this is the concept of proportionate equality. So according to Aristotle, justice will be there in society when there will be proportionate equality. So his theory of justice is based on proportionate equality, which means people should receive from the state the way of just rewards proportionate to their merit. In this way, what does he not support? He does not support what? Absolute equality, right? He does not support absolute equality. If you read this in this way, Aristotle does not support absolute equality, right? Then talk about if you are supporting absolute equality, this is being injustice with the person who is more talented or merit, right? And then talk about the famous statement. He held that if state will give equal treatment to those who are unequal in their merit and talent, it will give to rise of feeling of injustice, which will ultimately result into revolutions and seditions, right? And therefore, for Aristotle, injustice for Aristotle means when equals are treated unequally and unequals are treated equally, right? So in this way, talk about how Aristotle is linking justice, how Aristotle's idea of justice is based on the proportionality concept, right? Theory of proportionality, proportionate equality, right? Talk about this and then give the criteria, right? And but once you have written all this, then how will you conclude? See, in conclusion, we have studied that this proportionate equality is a good choice when initial conditions are normalized. But what about initial conditions, right? Initial conditions are not normalized, then how can you take on merit, right? So conclude that Aristotle has given more preference to merit. However, merit can be one of the criteria of justice, but it cannot be the sole criteria of justice. And according to Rawls as authority of idea of justice as fairness is the most important character of a just society. Same way, talk about the Constitution of India, that how it, the concept of justice is based on the principle of fairness, that the process should be fair to all, right? This is fair to the people who are having merit, but not to the people who are not having merit. So we require affirmative actions, right? We need to create a level playing field, right? Merit alone cannot ensure justice in true sense. So talk about this and you can end the answer. Getting it? So if ऐसा भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, Aristotle's theory of justice. So what is Aristotle's theory of justice? Aristotle's theory of justice is based on his theory of proportionate equality, right? Aristotle believes that justice will happen when offices and rewards are distributed according to the merit of citizens. See, I am highlighting this, I mean underlining this. See the red part. This is his theory of justice, which directly leads to that unequal people should not be treated equally and equal people should not be treated unequally. So his theory of justice is based on proportionate equality, and if this is not followed, then that will lead to you can say sedition, that will lead to you can say revolutions. In this, people have explained, people generally commit the mistake of explaining a lot of revolution. No, you have to explain that how inequality, how injustice leads to sedition, dhokedadi, right? And this is only done if you know what is inequality, right? What is inequality? So inequality can only be understood if you understand what is Aristotle's concept of equality, and his concept of equality is proportionate equality, right? So this is also asked in one of the UPSC paper, that Aristotelian's concept of equality, right? So proportionate equality, and always criticized through John Rawls, criticized through the Indian concept of affirmative action, right? So this we have done. Similarly, if you want, I have shared with you like this on even Plato. Like if you can see this, that Professor Bohl says that on all the books of the subject, the politics is the most influential and most profound book. If you can read this will be given to you. Okay? So just read all this PDF I have given to you, right? If a question comes on, let's say Plato, how will you introduce? So Plato is a Greek philosopher. He is considered as one of the most creative, influential thinkers of the political philosophy. People have described him some people have described him the real intellectual founder of Christianity. He is said to be a Christian before Christ, right? He is compared to Jesus Christ, right? So you can talk about this. Okay? You can talk about later on the views of Nettleship, right? That the book Republic of Plato is not only a philosophical work but a treatise on social and political reforms. If you want, you can quote this also, right? This can also be quoted. Okay? Then over here you can quote some more. I have given you more thinkers I have given you. Just a second. That justice. So according to Sabine, justice for Plato is a bond that holds society together, right? According to Barker, entire Plato's thought is hinged around the concept of justice. If you want, you can see this, right? The PDF will be shared with you, don't worry, right? And Plato's conclusion. So conclusion, a student had sent to me that Plato's legacy is not only limited to the Hellenic world of classical Greece, but also to universally relevant yesterday, today, and for tomorrow. So his thoughts are universal. His thoughts transcendent time and space. So if you want, you can quote like this. Then also you should be reading the Plato's theory of justice. It's an important. So I have given you in the PDF. Just read the 4-5 points in the PDF, right? So this will be shared with you. So with this, we end our today's discussion on the day 1 of our initiative. I hope you are liking it. Please do follow it on a regular basis. And tomorrow we will be conducting the next 3 philosophers, that is Hobbes, Locke, and Mill, right? And you can even study Rousseau. Okay, but we will be conducting the 3 major philosophers. So thank you so much, guys. If you are liking this, please do like, share, and subscribe it to your friends. Tell them that we are following this, and do it honestly, guys. Okay? And any one of you who has written the any good introduction, and if you want to share it me, you are most welcome. I will be adding them into this PDF and I will update it with you if you share with me certain good introduction. Don't worry, your name will not be revealed. If you want to remain anonymous, it's completely fine. So thank you so much. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Till then, bye bye.